big surprise, Michael Cohen lied again. And this comes from Cohen's former attorney. His name is Robert Costello, this guy right here. His name came out in the testimony when the government was asking Michael Cohen, Pinocchio face here, about his story. And he said that Robert Costello was a liaison to Donald Trump and was dangling a pardon over his head, saying that if he stays quiet, if he helps Trump with this grand conspiracy to keep this Stormy Daniels story quiet, he'll get a pardon. Maybe he'll be the AG. Maybe they'll put him on the Supreme Court or whatever delusions he thought were realistic. And so Cohen testified, but Costello showed up in Congress today. We'll see if he shows up in the trial or not, if Donald Trump calls him as a witness. But at this point, he's just talking to Congress, and he's got a couple of clips saying Cohen literally lied. On the stand during the trial, Cohen said Trump directed him to handle the Stormy thing. But Cohen told his lawyer, no, I handled the Stormy thing on my own. And you might be asking, how are we talking to Michael Cohen's lawyer? Isn't there something called attorney-client privilege? Why is this lawyer now able to talk about all the stuff that Cohen was telling him, basically spill the goods on this whole thing? Well, it's because Michael Cohen waived his attorney-client privilege. And you remember this video, taking a quick trip back down memory lane. This is Costello with our friend Tucker Carlson. Throwback to the era when he was on the mainstream media. Now he's doing much better free. So he is having Robert Costello on saying Cohen is literally lying.
Well, let me just ask you one final question, if it's okay, Mr. Costello.
Sure.
If you were the DA, if you were a prosecutor and you were trying to be fair and honest and serve the law rather than a political agenda, you'd want to know that, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. And I told them and told the grand jury today, I was deputy chief of the criminal division of the U.S. Attorneys for the Southern District. I said I wouldn't touch a witness like Michael Cohen for any amount of money. You simply cannot rely upon this guy. And tonight, he was on another station denying that he waived the attorney-client privilege. Here it is, in writing, and that's his signature on the second page. So
that's unbelievable.
I guess he didn't know that, and the district attorney didn't know that. And I told them, Michael Cohen has been in your office 20 times and twice in the grand jury, and he forgot to tell you that he waived the attorney-client privilege 22 times? I mean, really, is this the kind of witness you want to ride to the finish line?
Yeah, they did. They're riding him right now. They're still riding him. This is the only thing that they have left because their case is so terrible because Trump didn't commit a crime. So he has waiver, and we're going to get to his testimony from Congress, but remember what happened yesterday during the testimony. So Michael Cohen's back on the stand. We read through all of this courtesy of Inner City Press. To get a little different flavor today, we'll go see what Adam Klasfeld has to say about the testimony. Remember, they came back from a break. The prosecutor said to Mr. Cohen on the stand, they say, hey, Mr. Cohen, are you familiar with an attorney named Robert Costello, that guy? He says, yeah, I am. And this came from the Mueller report. They said in an email to Cohen, Costello wrote, he sent an email to Cohen that he had spoken with Giuliani. Robert Mueller wrote this in his report that basically said Trump did nothing wrong. Costello told Cohen the conversation was, quote, very, very positive. Says Cohen, you are loved. They are in our corner. Sleep well tonight. You have friends in high places. This is a lawyer sending his client a nice email. Hey, I'm working hard for you, man. We got good stuff coming, okay? Relax. I know the government raided you. Just take it easy. We're going to help, through all this stuff. I'm your lawyer, whatever he was representing him on. Cohen said that following these messages, he believed, courtesy of those messages, says nothing about a pardon, just says, hey, you're good. You got friends in high places. I'm working on it. A lot of people looking out for you. A lot of people coming after you, but other people looking out. Relax. Cohen said the message believed, he read into that he had the support of the White House if he continued to toe the party line. And he determined to stay on message and be a part of the team. And then at the time, Cohen understood that his legal fees were still being paid by Trump, which he said was important to him. Cohen believed he needed the power of the president to take care of him, so he needed to defend the president on all the messages, staying on message. So that's why Cohen flipped. Now they're trying to justify why Cohen flipped, because they raided his entire life, and dude is a criminal. So he had his P.O. box raided, he had everything raided, and they said, you better flip or else. And he admitted that during his testimony in court. So now what Mueller has to do in this passage is then come back and paper back over this thing. No. He was lying at the outset. He was lying about what he was defending Trump over, and he didn't actually flip. He's just reverting to the truth. Okay, so this is the context. Now, during the testimony, Michael Cohen's on the stand. He says that he was distraught from the FBI search when he met with Costello at the Regency Hotel. FBI raided him. He freaked out. Costello made clear. He says, relax. Cohen says that they told me this would be a great way to have a back channel to the president and make sure that you're still good and that you're secure. Like Trump's going to come in and wave a magic wand. This was the testimony we read yesterday. They have another exhibit, another email from Costello to Cohen. Again, his lawyer sending an email to him. Dated April 19, 2018. The emails validated Costello's relationship to Giuliani. Okay, so he knows Giuliani and the concept of the back channel, says Cohen. So that's what that email is explaining. Now here's another email. It says he asked me to tell you, Cohen says, this is what's going on, that Rudy is now communicating to Cohen. He asked me to tell you that he knows how tough this is on you and your family and that he'll make sure to tell the president. He said, thank you for opening this back channel of communications and asked me to keep in touch. And I don't know if that's verbatim that he's reading or if that's verbatim from Cohen. So that comes out, whether that's in the email or whether that's from Cohen's mouth, we don't know. On June 13th, Costello told Cohen that my friend has communicated to me that he is meeting with his client this evening and added that if there was anything you wanted to convey, you should tell me and my friend will bring it up for discussion this evening. Sort of mysterious, my friend, and they're speaking in generalities. Cohen, he testifies that he understood that Costello's friend was Rudy Giuliani in the abstract, but who's he talking about? Who's this friend? Oh, that's Rudy. And who was the client? Oh, that was Trump. And for Cohen, this covert mode of communication had a little I spy-ish feel, he says. There's another email from Costello. Apparently, he's frustrated with Cohen for not retaining him. So Cohen then gets a different lawyer, from Costello to Cohen. So the email from Costello says, when I suggested that we meet and discuss a strategy following this news, you suddenly took a new approach and you said, that's not going to happen. So stunned by this remark, I was asking you for a clarification on our legal relationship. So am I still your lawyer? Are you firing me or what's the deal? Costello says, it seems clear to me that you were under the impression that Trump and Giuliani are trying to discredit you and throw you under the bus, to use your phrase. So Costello's telling Cohen, sounds like you're losing it, dude. I think you are wrong because you are believing the narrative promoted by the left-wing media. So he starts to flip. Says, hey, you're making a very big mistake, Michael. If you believe the stories these journalists are writing about you, they want you to cave. They want you to fail. They do not want you to persevere and succeed. This is part of a pressure campaign, he says. Continuing saying, Cohen says, well, I never told Robert Costello the truth about Trump's involvement. Did you tell him, your lawyer, about what happened here? He says, no, I didn't. Why didn't you tell him, Michael? Because I didn't, quote, trust him. Because my own lawyer was loyal to Trump at the time. So his own lawyer can't properly advise this guy because he doesn't know anything about what happened here. So Cohen says, well, I talked to my family after the FBI search and they were threatening my family at that moment. So then Cohen says, obviously he would flip. At the time, Cohen says he did not know what the Southern District of New York was even looking at. He was in some unique situation. Cohen delivers this line straight to the jury. He says, I made a decision again based on a conversation with my family. I would not lie for President Trump any longer. He's like, hey, listen, kids, I've been lying my whole life, but not anymore because I love you. And they're like, wow, Dad. It's like out of a Disney movie. After two leading versions of the question prompts objections, the prosecutor asks, why in fact did you pay that money to Stormy Daniels? And here it is. Here's the big Stormy money shot. To ensure that the story would not come out, says Cohen, and would not affect Mr. Trump's chances of becoming president of the United States. Election interference. Courtroom gasps. Okay. Cohen said the guilty plea was the worst day of his life. Of course, he lied off about that. And that's the testimony. So they move on to another topic, but that was Robert Costello and how he came into play. Now he shows up the day after testimony. He's like, that dude's a liar. And let me tell you why. And here is Mr. Costello.
My name is Bob Costello. I've been
Bob?
An attorney for 51 years, and I'm the former assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York, where I was deputy chief of the criminal division. I am not now, nor have I ever been, an attorney for Donald Trump, any of his family members, or any of his businesses. I've represented quite a number of high-profile individuals, but never Donald Trump. During the period April 2018 to July 2018, I represented Michael Cohen. Today, I can talk to you about what Michael Cohen told my law partner and me, because Michael Cohen waived the attorney-client privilege at the request of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. The reason was Michael Cohen had pled guilty to 8 felony counts in the Southern District and was seeking to lessen his sentence. And he thought he could be clever by going into the U.S. Attorney's Office and lying about cooperation. Michael Cohen went to the U.S. Attorney's Office and accused Rudy Giuliani and myself of conspiring to obstruct justice by tampering with a witness, namely Michael Cohen. The story, which they were floating at the time and his lawyers put out in the various newspapers, was that we had dangled a pardon under Michael Cohen's nose in order to keep him quiet so that he wouldn't testify against Donald Trump. When I received the call from the U.S. Attorney's Office saying, Bob, we'd like to talk to you about your representation of Michael Cohen, I said to them, can I presume that you guys are sitting there with a copy of the waiver of the attorney-client privilege? And they said, you presume correctly.
Wow.
I told them to scan it over to me, and once I received it, I'd be delighted to talk to them. And I did. I went down to 1 St. Andrews Plaza with a lawyer who had been the chief of the criminal division when I was deputy chief, Tom Fitzpatrick. And on the way into the office, he said to me, Bob, aren't you nervous? I said, what for? I'm going to tell the truth, and I have have documentary evidence that corroborates me 6 ways from Sunday. I said, there's nothing to be nervous about. And in fact, I said, I'll bet you $10 I'll have these people laughing within 15 minutes. I won the bet. I went up and I sat with 2 assistant U.S. attorneys, Tom McKay and Nick Rose, as well as 2 FBI agents whose names, unfortunately, I don't remember. But we had a grand old time. I explained our entire history with Michael Cohen through emails and text messages. I explained the many, many lies that Michael Cohen told us. Most especially, I told them that when we first met Michael Cohen in April of 2018, keeping in mind now that I read Michael Cohen's testimony from yesterday's trial in New York on the way down on the train, and virtually every statement he made about me was another lie.
Whoa!
A lie that can be proven not just by me denying it, but by myself, Jeff Citron, or Rudy Giuliani, or emails or text messages.
Wow.
Virtually every statement that he made.
Wow. So lie after lie after lie. So Michael Cohen has already been accused of lying by a federal judge. He either lied when he took his plea deal, and he had actually admitted yesterday in his testimony that he did lie to a federal court when he took his plea deal. So we'll see what that looks like when the federal judge learns about that and whether he tries to remedy that. But this is Cohen lying again, and they've got evidence to rebut that. So is Mr. Costello going to come in to testify? Now, let's not also forget that Costello already was brought in to the grand jury. He's telling us that he already met with the prosecutors. So they already know this. The government knows this. The prosecutors know this. They brought the case anyways because they don't care.
What he tries to do is he picks out, cherry picks, certain emails or text messages and tries to make them look like something else. The story he told yesterday was that Rudy Giuliani and I were somehow conspiring to try and keep him quiet, to try and keep him from flipping. That's the term we use in the trade for cooperating. That's ridiculous. The first day that we met with Michael Cohen at the Regency Hotel, at his request, and there's email correspondence that show this, we went up there. I had never met Michael Cohen before. I didn't have any idea who he was or what sort of problem he was in. I saw this guy in a conference room at the Regency Hotel marching back and forth like a tiger in a cage. He was absolutely manic. He looked like he hadn't slept in 4 or 5 days. And he kept on, he knew my partner, Jeff Citron, for 10 years. I didn't know the guy. He kept on pounding on the table throughout his speeches that day. Guys, I want you to know, I will do whatever the F I have to do. I will never spend 1 day in jail. He had to say that at least 10 times, maybe 20. It was his constant litany as he walked back and forth.
Yeah, he's got his get out of jail free card now. He's going to turn them in and blame Trump because he knows the prosecutors just want Trump. That's all they're after. Michael Cohen is just a stepping stone into the much bigger fish, which is Donald Trump. So he says, perfect. How about I just use you guys?
I said, Michael, sit down. We need to discuss what's going on here. He told us about the raid, that his offices had been raided, his home had been raided, and he said, I didn't do anything wrong, guys. I don't know what they're looking for. And I said, Michael, the people in the Southern District of New York are very smart people. They got a search warrant for a lawyer's office. You can't do that just by going to the U.S. attorney. You need to go to Maine Justice and get approval from Maine Justice. You need to show them that you have proof that a crime has been committed and that the evidence of that crime is going to exist at the site to be examined. I said, so Michael, these people think that you did something wrong. What is it? I said, this is protected by attorney-client privilege, and it was until he waived the attorney-client privilege. I swear to God, Bob, I didn't do anything wrong. In fact, I'm cooperating with the special counsel. I'm cooperating with Congress. Of course, he forgot to tell us that he lied to Congress, but that was part and parcel of the way Michael Cohen is. So I sat him down and I said, look, Michael, clearly here, you're not the target. Nobody's ever heard of Michael Cohen.
Right, it's Trump.
But you are the lawyer for President Trump, and clearly that's their target. And let me explain to you how things work. When they get a search warrant, they're looking to gather evidence. They already have evidence against you for something, but you haven't told us what it is. And they are going to roll over you. You're just a bump in the road. Their target is Donald Trump. So I want you to think carefully now. And by the way, up to this point, he had told us when he introduced himself to us that 2 nights before, he was on the roof of the hotel, of the Regency Hotel, seriously considering jumping off, committing suicide, because he couldn't handle the pressure of the legal problems that he saw coming his way. And what he wanted to find out from us that day was his escape route. That's what he called it. Guys, you have to tell me what my escape route is. What can I do to get out of this? And I did. My obligation as a lawyer at that point in time was to explain to him what his options were. Clearly, one of his options was to cooperate. And I said to him, I said, Michael, the way this works is if you have truthful information about Donald Trump, that's clearly what they're looking for, I can have all your legal problems solved by the end of the week. His response, I swear to God, Bob, I don't have anything on Donald Trump.
Wow.
I said, Michael, I want you to think carefully about this. I probably came back to this subject 10 or 20 times during the 2-hour period. Every time I brought it up, every time he answered, I swear to God, excuse me, Bob, I don't have anything on Donald Trump. I said, Michael, whatever you have has to be truthful. If you think you can go in there and tell these people lies, you're crazy. It's going to backfire on you. You can't do that. So do you have anything on Donald Trump? Probably the fifth or the sixth time I got around to doing that, he said, well, I know that money is missing from the Trump inaugural ball. I said, is Donald Trump involved in that? No. Okay. Does Donald Trump know anything about that? No. I said, Michael, that's useless. You're not going anywhere with that. You asked me for your escape route. I'm telling you your escape route. All you have to do is be truthful if you have some real evidence on Donald Trump. His litany was the same all the time. I don't have anything on Donald Trump. This is exactly the opposite to what I saw him say on TV. He was telling the grand jury in Manhattan and the district attorney's office. He said, I went in there, I believe, if my memory is correct, 20 times, including 2 appearances in the grand jury, 18 times preparation sessions with the DA's office. I was sitting at home listening to this, and I said, that's nonsense. That's not what he told Jeff Citron and myself. And I decided at that point in time, I've got to make it known to both the defense and the prosecution what the real story is, who this guy really is. So I provided all this material to Donald Trump's lawyers, and I provided it to the Manhattan DA's office. And I asked for a meeting with District Attorney Bragg because I wanted to go in there, let him look me in the eye, and let me explain all of the stuff that we had on Michael Cohen that showed that he's an inveterate liar. The guy can't be trusted. Bragg turned me down. What he did say was, I'll let you have a meeting with the assistant district attorneys. Now, when the Trump people,
we need you just to...
I'm sorry, when the Trump people heard about all of this, they insisted, as was their right under the law, that the DA put me before the grand jury.
Right.
So that I was scheduled for a Monday. On the Friday before, I gave the DA's office the courtesy of a Zoom conference for about an hour and a half. 8 assistant district attorneys and me on the other end. I explained, they didn't really ask me any questions. They just said, what do you want to say? Nice warm greeting for somebody who's trying to show them the right path quietly and privately so that they could correct their error before they made it.
Absolutely incredible testimony. And he comes off as credible as anybody. And in fact, he's got a corroborating witness to all this stuff. He's got his law partner, Citron, who was there, who can confirm Michael Cohen pacing around like a tiger and borderline suicidal, hasn't slept. And this matches the thesis that he was in some serious problems and serious trouble. And his only escape hatch was to find something he could use to go give to the SDNY, and he did. So that was just outstanding. And of course, there was more questions once Congress got into the questioning. And so here is the other clip I wanted to share with you, where he is explaining the following, that Michael Cohen didn't actually believe the Stormy Daniels allegation, didn't think they did anything. Cohen paid Stormy Daniels all on his own, in opposite to what Michael Cohen testified to yesterday. And Trump had nothing to do with it at all. It's incredible. Here it is.
Through further cross-examination, Cohen told me that he knew there was money missing from the Trump inauguration.
Yes. I see where you are now. Thank you.
Okay. And then on the next page, into that first paragraph, Cohen decided that while he didn't believe the allegation of the Stormy Daniels story, that he thought the story would be embarrassing for Trump and especially for Melania, so he decided he would take care of it himself.
Absolutely. And that is contrary to what this guy testified to in court in New York yesterday.
Well, and what's not being talked about is your next paragraph, like the reason and his motivation for that. So if you could just kind of walk through that for the committee.
Yeah, obviously, when we started to talk about the NDAs, and this is the very first meeting at the Regency Hotel, when, by the way, Rudy Giuliani was not involved in representing Donald Trump at that time. Cohen testified that it was a conspiracy between Giuliani and Costello as of this date. Totally false. In any event, you also said that he didn't discuss the Stormy Daniels matter with us, and he certainly did. I specifically asked him because he kept on going back saying, I can't believe they're trying to put me in jail for these NDAs. So I said, Michael, tell me about the NDA. Tell me about Stormy Daniels. What did you do? He said, I got a call from a lawyer representing Stormy Daniels who represented that she was going to testify that Donald Trump had sex with Stormy Daniels. Michael Cohen said, I didn't believe the allegation, but I knew that such an allegation would be terribly embarrassing. He said, it would be embarrassing. He focused on Melania Trump.
Wow.
He said, I didn't want to embarrass Melania Trump. He said, that's why I decided to take care of this on my own. Right. I went back to that several times. You did this on your own? On my own. Did Donald Trump have anything to do with it? No. Did you get the money from Donald Trump? No. From any of his organizations? No. From anybody connected to Donald Trump? No. Where did you get the money? I took out a HELOC loan against my property. I said, why would you do that? He said, I didn't want anybody to know where I got this money. I didn't want Melania to know. I didn't want my own wife to know because she's in charge, he said, of the Cohen family finances. He said, if she saw money coming out of my account, she'd ask me 100 questions and I didn't want to answer any of them. It was clear after talking to him for several days after that, whenever we talked,
talked on the phone or in my office that he kept on bringing up the subject that he felt he was betrayed by not being brought down to Washington, D.C. This guy thought, he said to me, that he should have been Attorney General of the United States, or at least the chief assistant to the president. Ludicrous.
Yeah.
But that's what he thought. And he was very angry about that. He wanted to do something to put himself back into the inner circle of Donald Trump. That's why he took care of this on his own. There had to be a motivation. Michael Cohen is always working for things that benefit himself. And that's what he was doing here. That's completely different to what he said that he told the grand jury. That's completely different to what he's testifying to in New York. Nobody has heard this side of the equation.
Right.
Just amazing, outstanding testimony from Costello. And I don't know if he is on the witness list or if he is going to be somebody who Trump's team might be able to bring in, but there are multiple layers to this. So obviously he has direct hand knowledge about what Michael Cohen said because he was his lawyer. And my understanding is, sounds like he's got a bunch of records to corroborate and to confirm a lot of this, like a good lawyer does. They log things, they write notes, they keep tabs on what they do in case there's a problem like there is right now. They can say, here's what I've got. And I show up and here's what I did. I stand by my work. Not like Nathan Wade, who just keeps all the stuff in his head, or like Michael Cohen, who just creates problems and then tries to solve them. And so, my friends, thank you for joining us as we continue to unpack what's happening here. We'd love it if you subscribe to our channel, wherever it is you're watching this. We'd really love it if you invited a friend or family member to come on over and join us as we continue our coverage here. We've got a great members only community on Locals and on YouTube. We do members only streams in the morning. We'd love to have you come join us. So check out the links in the description below, my friends. No matter where we see you, we'll look forward to seeing you back here on the next one.